Yet again, Infinity Ward has dropped another blog post talking about really everything, but we're going to focus on DMZ, as you guys may be able to tell from the title and thumbnail. But there is something that has been interesting because, I mean, we had seen gameplay of DMZ in a limited variety. We saw Warzone streamers playing it like it was Warzone. It was really weird. And then also we got a blog post the other day which didn't make it sound too great, but in today's blog post, actually there's some good stuff here, because I was worried that the launch may not go well and potentially down the road it'll be better, but after reading this, it seems like there is some good stuff about this. So let's not waste any more time and jump right over to this article. And I've already read this in its entirety, so we're only going to read the important things, or at least what I think is the most important things. And the most important thing to start off with is the weapons. And let's quickly read this, because there's a couple different types of weapons. Contraband weapon blueprints. But what it says is, found across DMZ, contraband weapons are the primary means of defense and are the main items permanently lost in DMZ upon death. Any weapon found within DMZ is considered contraband, a contraband weapon. This includes weapons found on operators or combatants, or loose in the world, or within containers. Contraband weapons can contain anywhere from 0 to 5 attachments and may not be the most effective version of that weapon possible. So this is actually really good in my opinion, that last part where it says that when you get a contraband gun, the attachments are pretty much random, and it can have up to 0 to 5. And this is really cool, because what I was worried about is that if you just got a gun, you would then take it out of the game and then just put any attachments you want, and this would make it very easy just to use meta guns over and over again. And to me, I don't really think that would be a great thing for a game mode like this, and because I feel like you shouldn't be able to get your best stuff immediately. It shouldn't just be you get the best gun just after like a couple hours of playing. Like, the whole idea of this is that you play for hours upon hours, excuse me, until you finally get the perfect loadout. Like, that's the whole idea of these game modes, so it shouldn't be easy. And this, of course, does that, where you have to keep going back until you get the meta gun, but it also has to have the right attachments on it, so, or at least the best possible attachments you get at that moment. So to me, definitely a great thing here. Absolutely love this. And also, it makes it where if you do have the meta gun with the best attachments, you got to worry about like not dying. Like, when you die, you have to make, like, when you use that gun, you have to make sure you are not about to die. So definitely great stuff here. Absolutely love this. It just brings stakes and you know, the whole grind into the game. It's just exactly what game modes like this are supposed to be. But of course, there's a little bit of concern here, because there's also blueprints, weapon blueprints. And what it says is, actually skip to here, weapon blueprints have unique properties. They are not permanently lost upon death. Instead, dying in DMZ with a weapon blueprint on your person makes the blueprint inaccessible for a period of times, usually a few hours. And this is a bit concerning, because blueprints normally have pretty good attachments already. So why would someone just use this, especially if you can't permanently lose them? Like, why would someone use a contraband one? And you may say, well, you don't have that many blueprints. Well, I mean, that really comes down to how the blueprint system works. Like, are they going to be blueprints that you have like in game that you've earned or even bought? Like, imagine that would be pay to win at that point. I doubt they would be like that. But even if it's things you could only get from, like, if you go and get blueprints from looting them in game, like during DMZ, then I mean, what if you just collect 6 of them? You know, 6 solid blueprint guns, and then you're pretty much never going to run out. You're always going to have one to replace that and never have to worry about losing anything. And like, that destroys the whole idea of, you know, the whole stakes in game modes like this. So it's a bit concerning, but don't get me wrong, they need to have guns that are on cooldowns, because for the people who are just barely getting into it, where they don't have any contraband guns, they need to have something, and that's where they should come in. But as I just don't know if it should work like this. But really, how it comes down to is how they implement this. It could be good, could just be fine, could be absolutely terrible. We'll have to wait and see. But the final thing mentioned about weapons is, in DMZ, extracting with any contraband weapon unlocks it across all other game modes. Really good stuff, like it, a unique way to unlock guns that's specific to this game mode. Absolutely love that. Then of course there's the final thing. It says this includes an M13 assault rifle with a new functional weapon earned by defeating Redacted. So absolutely love this too. You know, there's something a very unique and really good reward just you can only get by playing DMZ. And they also do give a little bit of hint of how you would do it. You have to defeat something. They don't say what, but it's something. And I have a couple hints on what it may be. Maybe it has to do with those radiation circles, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Regardless though, there are a couple other things in this article that are worth mentioning, and this is the storage. And this is obvious for most people. Exfil game modes need to have a storage, and what this means is that when you get all the stuff you like earned in the game or you collected in a match of DMZ, you exfil, all that stuff saves to an in-game menu where is your storage. And then when you have all that stuff in the storage, you can just permanently leave it there, or you could risk losing it by taking it in with your loadout to go try to get even more stuff. So obviously the whole idea of this is that you get good stuff to get better stuff, and that's how this whole system works. So yes, that's the thing, it works like that. I don't know why people are wondering if that wasn't the case. I did see a couple people, so that's the only reason I brought it up. The next thing I want to talk about is the loadout, because this is something that I was a little bit disappointed by, because what it mentions on your loadout, it's what's really missing here. Because obviously there's the two weapons, with maximum ammo, 2 equipment pieces, field upgrade and kill streak, armor plates, and gas mask, and all that stuff makes sense why that's going to be there, but there's no mention of perks, and I've read through this entire thing, no mention of perks at all. And to me, perks should be a lootable item that you could then put on your loadouts. Like, that should be a thing, like that just should be. So it's a little bit concerning that it's not here, but hopefully sometime down the road they actually do add them in, and maybe they already do, they just forgot to mention or something like that. But regardless, that's just another thing I thought was worth mentioning. And then we get to an even cooler thing about this, and this is as I was going to say asylum, this is assimilation, and this is really cool. I'm not going to read this because it's easier to just explain it, but how this works is that if you run into another I guess squad, like real other players on the map, obviously you could fight them and try to kill them, or you could just try to run away. But there's actually a third option here in this game, and what that is assimilation. And what you do is use a proximity chat to talk to that other group, and then when you do, you could try to agree to work together, and not just work together like how we're teaming together, but you could actually assimilate. And this is like an in-game feature, because when you choose to assimilate and both squads do, then you are kind of like, instead of just being a three-person squad, now you're like a 6-person squad all working together. And even when you do this, and well, obviously the reason you would do this is to do even more difficult tasks, like maybe making a stronghold a lot easier to do with 6 people instead of 3 people. And sure, the problem, obviously the payoff would be is that everyone gets less loot, but you know, that's just kind of how the whole payoff that you would have here. Now, of course, people may be wondering, is this just a word thing, like you just both agree that you're not going to kill each other and you go work on the strongholds together? No, this is literally an in-game feature, because it says when you assimilate, friendly fire is disabled on temporary squad mates. So potentially a really cool feature that you could actually do, just squad up with random people you I guess run into. So absolutely think that's a really cool feature. But of course, there are more things that are worth talking about, and the next thing we're going to talk about are the world activities. And surprisingly, there's actually a lot of them, and let's just quickly read through them. The first one is the safes. These contain a ton of cash but take time to crack open. The drill you need to open the safe attracts AI combatants and is loud enough to draw attention of other operators as well. Really cool, solid like thing. That's just how, you know, I guess world events should work in this game, like that stuff. Next one is SAM sites. These are anti-air turrets that can shoot down planes carrying precious cargo, activate them to potentially send a supply drop containing valuable items crashing down. Cool stuff. You activate it, shoot it down, and then when it falls down, you have to find the crash site to go get the loot that you need. Really cool stuff. Absolutely love that. UAV towers. Find these around Al Mazrah to receive intel on AI combatants and operators' locations via minimap. So it's just like a localized UAV. Anywhere near that UAV tower is going to give you a UAV. I don't know if it lasts permanently or until another team goes and steals it from you, or just till the end of that match, but it seems cool. Next one is hidden caches. Obviously not marked on the minimap. Learn where these are likely to be found for consistent valuable item drops. Cool stuff there. Strongholds, we know what those are, and they just say you know what those are here also, so we're not going over those. Next one is actually really cool. Sandstorms. As a desert city, these conditions can kick up at any time, reducing visibility and damaging operators over time. If one hits, evacuate as ASAP. Cool stuff. Love weather events in video games, especially like multiplayer ones, like big map stuff. Like, to me, that's just really cool. And then the final world event is going to be radiation, and we've actually seen this, but let's just quickly read this. Not much is known about the origins, but the deadly radiation can poison operators Illidoan pills, a new fill upgrade can be found to counteract its effects. And you know, we've actually seen these in Spec Ops before, so we do know that how those pills work, and there's radiation and you don't get hurt by it for, I think, a limited amount of time. So yeah, and to me, I think that the reason they're making a fill upgrade is, I think, like, they've been really teasing at the origins of this radiation. And to me, if I had to take a guess, I feel like there's going to be like a mini boss fight there at the origins of this, and potentially when you beat that, you get the M13. Just a thought. I'm not actually sure entirely, but considering how much they've been teasing it, I just feel like that might be it. Regardless, we do move on to the contracts, and there's actually a lot more than I thought there was going to be, and some of them are going to be actually under the same thing, because right here it shows the I guess the icons are going to be on the map, and then obviously it says the two things. So right here for the magnifying glass icon is going to have a secure intel or Giga search. And the first thing it says, find intel on hard drives and go to the nearest radio tower to upload its data. That's obviously secure intel. Alternatively is it may task you to collect uranium rods to be found with a Giga counter. So there's that. Then we have the crosshair one, which is elimination. Assassinate an AI target guarded by multiple combatants, or at least confirm their death. So obvious how that works. Hostage, and this was going to be with handcuffs. Rescue a hostage within a locked building, then carry them to the nearest helicopter exfil location. And they actually say this later in the article, not going to scroll down to it, but if you actually wanted to exfil, you actually exfil with this hostage, so you can actually double up on that, which could be a good idea to do sometimes. Then we have the briefcase icon, which is going to be cargo delivery / shipment. Depending on the specific contract, find a vehicle or a boat with precious cargo and drop it off at a marked location. Feel free to keep the vehicle after drop off. And then we have hunted, this is going to be marked with a skull, by the way. Hunt an enemy operator team marked as high value targets due to their activity within the DMZ match. So this is actually really cool. Two things. First, it's actually different from the elimination from old Warzone, because this is a whole squad. You have to wipe the entire squad in order to complete this one, so I imagine the rewards for this is really high. And on top of that, I feel like how they made it sound like this is going to work is that this is going to target someone who has actually been collecting a lot of loot, because it says due to their activity within the DMZ match. So potentially, if you just collected a ton of loot, then all of a sudden you just get haunted on you because of this, which could be very terrifying. And you're probably going to want to exfil as soon as possible if that happens. But also on the flip side of that, you know, it's going to be a lot of loot waiting on the other side, not just by completing this challenge, but also the loot you're going to get after you kill this squad. But then, of course, this brings us to the last contract, and it's destroy supplies, and it's going to be marked with a bomb. Locate and destroy 2 sites with planted bombs. Very simple stuff. So that's all of that. And there's a little mention of the factions that I was going to go over, and I was going to talk about some story stuff, but I don't think it's really that important either. I just wondered if there's going to be branching routes. That's it. But regardless, that's everything I wanted to talk about here from this article. A lot of interesting things to go over, potentially some really fun stuff. Like after, like I said at the start of the video, I was a bit concerned about DMZ at launch, but potentially after reading this, there is a lot of fun things to do. I'm just worried that the pace may be a bit too fast for a game mode like this, and Call of Duty players may play like Call of Duty players, and it may not be as, I guess thrilling is the right word. I don't know. Regardless though, that's it for this video. And if this video was like, I guess, informative in any way, shape, or form, then I would appreciate if you guys dropped a like, subscribe, bell, share, or any of that great stuff, because especially when this drops, I'm going to be streaming DMZ day 1 from launch time, so expect that. Regardless though, that's it for me. I'll catch you guys next stream video, whatever that may be, and laters, guys.